Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is Premier League predictions once again. It's game week 35. We have 14 games this week, so you better get your fantasy league captain sorted out. How you doing, Alex?
Yes, I'm good. As you can see, I've started to get rid of all the hair. But before we go any further, as always, we just want to say a quick thank you to every single one of you that support us with your comments and your likes, and more importantly, your time. I just want to say thank you to every single one of you. Next up is Leicester versus Newcastle. In Leicester's last game, it was that 1-1 draw against Southampton, and I think it's a game in which Leicester, they'll be feeling like they shot themselves in the foot numerous times. I think when they went down to 10 men, I think they're probably thinking, well, a 9-0 could potentially be back on the cards. Sorry, Southampton fans. But they were made to struggle. There was only kind of limited to half chances in the first half, and in that second half, surprisingly, in that show, he became the villain with the handball, and then Southampton converted that. They went 1-0 down, and then he became the hero with that assist for Evans. So it's a weird game where they'll be happy, I suppose, in the end that they got the point after they went 1-0 down, but really should have been picking up 3 points there.
Yeah, as for Newcastle, it was a really weird game. I guess by Sunday, they were pretty much safe. By then, Fulham had lost, and it was impossible job for Fulham to come back from that. And yeah, it became a really weird game. The pace of the game felt like a friendly match between Arsenal and Newcastle. They didn't really attack. As an Arsenal fan, I liked how they just decided, okay, let's hold what we've got and see if St. Maximin can do something absolutely magical, which he can absolutely do on his own. But other than that, maybe Newcastle were a bit unlucky that Xhaka didn't get a yellow card. But other than that, it was kind of, the most standard 2-0 that you could see.
What's your prediction for this one?
Based on Newcastle taking their foot off the gas, they're not going to get relegated. I'm going with a Leicester win, so I'm going 2-0 Leicester.
Yeah, I've got the same sort of vibe. I'm going 3-0 Leicester.
Next up is Leeds versus Tottenham Hotspur. And for Leeds against Brighton, a bit of a difficult game. I don't think they came with the right energy, and they were pretty lackluster in attack. They only had 2 shots on goal the whole game. Bit of a weird game, but Brighton came in super motivated. They needed that win to stay up, and they played a really good game. So hands up to Brighton. That does snap a 6-game unbeaten run for Leeds, and Leeds are they've had a phenomenal season already. But you're just hoping that maybe they can get a couple more wins and push higher up the table. Because imagine if they get something like 9th place and beat out the teams like Arsenal, and that would be an amazing first season back in the Premier League. But it wasn't to be against Brighton.
Can I just quickly ask, what does hands up for Brighton mean?
That means
Brighton.
Hands up, because Brighton is opening. The clubs are opening, so the Leeds fans going to go down and celebrate.
Okay, I'm not going to make a joke
there. Easily could.
Yeah, Leeds do have a very difficult task in Tottenham, who seem to be a little bit rejuvenated. And who would have thought that if you play 4 times Champions League winner Gareth Bale, that he might actually do some decent football? Actually, that's a bit harsh, isn't it? I'm sure he has his reasons. But either way, Bale was just showing how absolute class he was, and he was absolutely on fire. Obviously, got a hat-trick for Tottenham in that 4-0 win over Southampton. And I think the thing that is probably most surprising for them is that the amount of goals they're conceding has actually reduced. I don't know how that has happened. I don't know what wizardry has happened, but somehow Tottenham are not conceding goals. So they'll be very happy with both aspects of defending and attacking in that 4-0 win over Sheffield United.
It's kind of crazy. If you peel back the amount of minutes Gareth Bale has played, he's had a pretty productive year in terms of goal scoring output and assists. But yeah,
I think it was always he wasn't a Mourinho style player, and he didn't want to play him. So yeah, but he's a fantastic player, and obviously showing he gets goals and assists if he plays.
Okay, so who are you predicting for this game? You think Gareth Bale is going to score another hat trick, probably a own goal, but who are you going for?
Yeah, I've been very pessimistic about Tottenham recently, so I'm going to try and switch up a little bit, and I'm going to go 2-1 Tottenham.
I'm going for Leeds. I'm going for a 3-2 win to Leeds.
But definitely tune into this game, because you know what? It's one of them, isn't it, Gary? It could literally be either team. No one knows.
Own goals. I just want to see own goals.
And then next game is Sheffield United versus Crystal Palace. And look, Sheffield United fans, you know the deal. Obviously, you're already relegated. It was a bit of a thumping by Tottenham. So we're just going to sweep over that quickly. I'll let Gary deal with Palace.
As for Crystal Palace, yeah, against Man City, tough old game. You know, I thought maybe Man City rotating their squad, maybe there was a chance. And, you know, Benteke had 2 really good chances. And somehow, I felt that they should have gone 1-0 ahead first. You know, Benteke had a chance, had a header. Joe Ward got into the box, Man City, and somehow it didn't go in. But then Man City, in the space of 3 minutes, just got their shooting boots. And that man Aguero did a ridiculous first touch and finish. And you have to hold your hands up and just say, that is absolutely insane. And then afterwards, it's just that slow, painful death of possession by Man City. Yeah, they're just going to keep the ball for the entirety of the second half. And unfortunately, that's what happened.
What's your prediction?
I am going for a squeaky 1-0 win to Crystal Palace.
I am going to go for a less squeaky 1-1.
Next up, it is a potential Champions League final between Manchester City and Chelsea. Man City, I was very impressed, you know, against Crystal Palace. Heavy rotation, but they showed their class once again. And Sergio Aguero, that touch and finish, absolutely insane. Like, very few Premier League strikers can do that just with that touch. Smashed it in, and he's going to show Man City exactly what they're going to miss next season. Still don't know where he's going to go. But Man City, they kind of just switched on and got their shooting boots in 3 minutes. Aguero, Torres, and then that was the game almost. They could have gone behind against Crystal Palace, but you know, they scored and they just kept the ball like true experts. And you know, one more win away from potentially winning the Premier League title against Chelsea. Will it be this weekend?
Yes, and for Chelsea, actually, before we get on to Chelsea, because I know we're going to get this in the comments, well, we probably won't now. We record on a Wednesday, so we don't actually know the Chelsea result yet, and we release on the Thursday. We don't know if Chelsea have made the Champions League final yet. Anyway, in Chelsea's last game, it was that 2-0 win over Fulham, and it was a very good win for them. You know, Tuchel was very good at shutting teams down and stopping them from having a lot of chances. And Havertz, 2 goals. And we're seeing him in a bit more of a more advanced role. Bit similar to what we saw him do at Bayer Leverkusen, to be honest. And we're starting to reap the benefits. You know, it was 2 very good runs by him and it was 2 very good finishes. So I think a very good performance by Chelsea.
Okay, so here's the big prediction. Are they going to be crowned Premier League champions, or Chelsea going to make them hold off?
I think Chelsea are going to win this one, but then Man City, if Chelsea make it, will win the Champions League final. That's my prediction. Whoever wins this one, the other team will win the other fixture, if it happens.
I think Chelsea are going to get a scalp out of this one. Win, I'm not too sure, but draw, I think there's going to be a draw. So I'm going 1-1.
You've got that there, didn't you? I'm going 1-0 Chelsea. Next up is Liverpool versus Southampton, and if you do live under a rock, you may not know that Liverpool versus Manchester United was cancelled due to protests at Old Trafford. Now, I would just 2 things. I think on the players, obviously it'd be quite tough on them. Probably a situation they haven't dealt with before. That's the players and the managers. I think for the fans, I 100% understand your frustrations. The only thing I ask for you guys is, 1, try to stop any potential violence, because anyone you inflict violence on, it's not the owners. You know, you're only hurting yourselves when you do stuff like that. And 2, owners are only part of the problem. There's 2 other major players which have turned this sport into an absolute cash cow, and that is the regulators in the Premier League and UEFA. They have as much blood on their hands, and the broadcasters. So that's Sky, BT, Amazon, and I think that's it. No, yeah, I think that's it. Anyway, they are just as much to blame as the owners. So let's just not be that one. Like, let's not just attack the owners. Let's also attack is the wrong word. You know what I mean? It's not just the owners. Let's get the broadcasters and the regulators. Let's sort them out as well.
Yeah, it's always going to be the case where you got a couple crazy people, you know, damaging stuff, and you know that takes the headline news. But you know, seemed like they were well within their rights to express their frustration. I'm of the opinion that, I primarily blame the owners of the club, just how greedy they are, and they don't care about anything else, and leveraging these clubs with loads of debt and trying to Americanize it all, really. But
do you know what? I don't know. I think they're just a product of the environment. What the Premier League should have done when these greedy people come in, there should have been rules to stop them doing shit like that. That's why, I feel like we're not dealing with the source of the problem. It's got to be the regulators and the broadcasters we go after. Fair enough.
As for Southampton, that was a really tough game. I felt like they were quite unfortunate with Vestergaard. He did get 100% get the ball. He did get Vardy flush on the leg. So, even though it really shouldn't have been a foul, but I guess when they look at VAR, they're just going to... It's not the intention that they punish. They're just going to see the fact that it was a tough old challenge on Vardy's leg with the studs up, no matter what, getting the ball. So...
you know what, Gary? I didn't touch on this when we reviewed Leicester, just because I knew you were going to talk about it. I think slow-mo does not help VAR. I feel like you need to have it at real speed and then maybe slow-mo if you want a bit more context. But I feel like as soon as you look at something in slow motion, it just removes all the context of what's actually happening, and you can't actually see a player's intention and kind of what they're actually trying to do, or kind of what is actually happening as soon as it gets slowed down.
Yeah, I guess in slow-mo you just see this massive unit in Vestergaard who's 9 foot crunching down Vardy, who's just trying to get some skills. But they played with 10 men for 80 minutes. I'm so impressed. They'll manage to keep Leicester out, sort of. I mean, they went 1-0 ahead with that handball. But they conceded 7-8 minutes later, which was just kind of the frustrating thing. And maybe they could have held out a little bit more. But a point each. Southampton's, I guess, is relatively happy about that. Get an extra point, safe. And Leicester get an extra point and hopefully cements their Champions League place. So honours even between the two.
What's your prediction for this one?
I think Liverpool will be nice and rested. They still have to gun for Champions League. Southampton probably get their foot off the gas for this game, so I'm going 3-0 Liverpool.
You know what? Liverpool have had 2 1-1s in a row, and you know what I'm like? I like statistics. I like to follow trends, so I'm going 1-1.
Next up, it is Wolves versus Brighton, and for Wolves, they played West Brom, Midland derby, and it was tough game. Honours even in that game, and I thought Wolves played really well in the first half. They had, I think, a lot of good individual play to get into West Brom's half and into their penalty box, and they eventually got their reward with Fabio Silva. Who knew nothing about that shot and goal, but I mean, he won't care. He's young. He's going to take every single goal this season and try and build upon it because it's been a tough old season trying to fill Jimenez's boots. But yeah, I just didn't like the goal that they conceded against West Brom. Kind of lazy closeout for a cross, and just bang, West Brom player right in the middle of the six-yard box, and it was in, and that was the only frustration.
And for Brighton, they got that 2-0 win over Leeds, and let's just take a minute to appreciate that Danny Welbeck goal. It was
that guy Welbs.
It was fucking amazing. I literally, as I watched it go in, I text Gary straight away because obviously Gary, former Arsenal man, has a very soft spot for Danny Welbeck. Although Welbeck is one of the nice guys in football, so I think most people have a soft spot for him anyway. I just texted straight away. I was like, that was absolute fucking filth.
Why it's funny is because he can't finish from 3 yards out, but he'll do something like that, which it's just frustrating, but I love it, man.
Just pulls it out of the bag is absolutely immense. And you know what, you actually lead me on to my next point, because if Welbeck did that in the majority of the games, Brighton would be a lot closer to where they would be if you took into account XG and XGA.
Don't do that to Welbeck. It's Mopé and Trossard who've been like the serial culprits for Brighton, missing one-on-ones. Welbeck hasn't been doing that.
See, soft spot for Welbeck. But no, you are right. You are actually right. even though I pulled you out of that, right? You are right. But did you know, if you took into account not goals scored and goals conceded, but expected goals scored and expected goals conceded, where they would be in the league?
9th.
4th.
Oh, okay. Jesus Christ.
Which basically means they concede a lot of kind of very good goals and they don't score a lot of very good chances. So Welbeck, do that next season and we might just see Brighton in a Champions League.
Score predictions then.
Yeah, after all that glowing review, I'm feeling Welbeck, he's going to be on form. I'm going for 2-0 Brighton.
Oh, both teams might be off the gas right now. But I'll agree with Brighton. I think they're going to go win 2-1 on this one.
Next up is Aston Villa versus Manchester United. And in Aston Villa's last game, it was a 2-1 win over Everton. And it was a good performance by Aston Villa. And I think I'd be really happy with those 3 points because I think over the last few games, one, they've had some tough fixtures. They've had quite a few tough games and they've been a little bit unlucky, but I think the performances overall haven't been too bad. So this is the first time in a few games where they've put in a good performance and they've walked away with 3 points. I'd be very happy with that. And I think that'll be boosted by the fact, obviously, Grealish, we're not sure exactly what's happened. I think it seems to be happening more regularly where players are supposed to be out for a few weeks, but ended up being a few months. But Grealish is out a bit. I think I'd be really happy and boost their confidence that, as I said, it was a good performance and it was a good 3 points without their star man.
As for Man United, no game because of the strike, and I appreciate people will have different opinions on this, but I think as a one-off, if no one gets injured, there's no damage and whatnot, it shows the might of the fans, for the biggest club in the country to show to the owners that, no, you can't keep taking the piss. We get to decide when you play if we really band together, and get a lot of support from a lot of fans around the country because they don't like the direction that football's going in terms of greed, TV money, and obviously the European Super League is a prime example of that. I just think it shows a lot of balls to call off the biggest game in the Premier League, and that's exactly what they did. What can they do going forward? It's going to be interesting to see, but it does send a proper message to the owner.
Yeah, and I just want to echo what you say. Keep it peaceful. No one should get hurt. No one who's earning probably similar money to what you're earning should have to pay out because you broke their equipment. Keep it peaceful. Just remember who the enemies are and who you're targeting whenever you go to any of these protests. Okay,
so considering this game doesn't get called off, who are you going with in the score predictions?
You know what? There's something telling me Aston Villa. I'm going to go. I'm stuck in two minds. I'm going to go 2-2.
Man United, they're just crazily consistent. I'm going 2-1 Man United on this one. Next up, it is West Ham versus Everton. And for West Ham, it was really interesting to see how they would respond after losing to Chelsea. Really want to see them at least take it to the final day for West Ham. Keep that Champions League dream alive. And for West Ham, who have they got up? I got it up on here. They've got Everton, Brighton, and West Brom, whilst Chelsea have got City, Arsenal, and Leicester, which it ain't going to be an easy 9 points. So this is a really, really key final 3 games. It was good that they got the win. For Burnley, I was kind of impressed because Burnley, they just defended really, really, really deep, and they made sure that Burnley couldn't contain some of the overlaps and the crosses, and it was really important to get Mikel Antonio back scoring. Scored a brace. He's going to be super important in these final 3 games after coming back from injury.
For Everton, in their last game, it was that 2-1 loss to Aston Villa, and I think for Everton it's quite frustrating because you've seen in glimpses just how good they can be, and I think you've also seen how bad that they can be. It's really, they really have kind of been either heads or tails. I don't know if that's even a saying. Is it heads or tails?
Extremely good or extremely bad.
Yeah, I'm going to take what Gary said and pretend I said that. And against Aston Villa, I wouldn't say it was necessarily a bad performance, but I think there were just a few key moments. And the bits that I am talking about is obviously it was a mistake defensively for the Watkins goal. And I think, Calvert-Lewin has been really, really good this season. But I think he had a golden chance to put them ahead 2-1. And I think that would have been a completely different game. And don't get me wrong, it's a very difficult chance, but he did hit it, very, very close to the goalkeeper. So, yeah, not a terrible performance, but it's just in those key moments they needed to be better.
Okay, this is still like a big game in terms of Champions League. Everton pretty long shot for it, but do you think they can get back into the Champions League places?
It's a tough one. I see this being a 1-1.
I want the dream to stay alive. Everton fans, I'm really sorry. Arsenal did their bit. They completely threw the game, lost the game against you guys, but now you need to do the same for West Ham. Pass the love on. So I'm going 2-1 West Ham. Next up, it is Arsenal versus West Bromwich Albion, and Arsenal, that feels weird. It feels weird, and a win feels absolutely foreign to Arsenal fans right now in the Premier League after weeks of terrible performances and dodgy VAR calls. But
don't be too foreign, because in a few weeks Wenger will come out with a story that he tried to sign you when you were 16.
But I mean, it'll be a superstar nonetheless. But yeah, it was very nice of Newcastle to organise a friendly match for in between Arsenal's two massive games against Villarreal. That's kind of what it felt like. It had everything Arsenal needed. It had a goal from Aubameyang to get his confidence up, a clean sheet, which is kind of crazy, and Martinelli had a very good performance as well. So we need the confidence ahead of Villarreal.
Yeah, and for West Brom in that last game, it was that 1-1 draw with Wolves. And it's a shame, really, because, for a while we thought Big Sam was going to pull off, a typical Big Sam. And, he's going to do the impossible and keep them up. But it's looking more and more unlikely. Although, full credit to West Brom, they still look like they're trying to give it their all, even though, mathematically it's getting harder and harder for them. Which I think, it takes a lot for them to do that. But I think going into this, this is going to be quite a tough one for them. But I would say, of all the managers, kind of looking at them, Sam Allardyce is the one who I believe would have his team playing up until the 38th game, whereas I imagine like your Fulhams and your Sheffield Uniteds try to play good football. They might be a little bit more, let's just prepare for next season. But I feel like Big Sam, he's going to try as much as he can to get as many results, even if they're already relegated against these teams.
Yeah, score prediction, but I always feel that Sam Allardyce has it in for Arsenal no matter what. So he'll want to have a little scrap with Arsenal. It's going to be a difficult game, so I'm going 1-1 on this one.
I'm going 2-1 Arsenal. Next up is Fulham versus Burnley. And as we covered earlier in Fulham's last game, was that 2-0 loss to Chelsea. And, it's a shame because, just as we touched on with West Brom, there's only a point difference between West Brom and Fulham. And I feel like Fulham also, they're pretty much all but down now, Don't get me wrong, I'd love to see them go on some miracle run and maybe another team get dragged into the relegation battle, but it doesn't look likely at the moment. But, they do try to play good football, but I think what you saw against Chelsea was just kind of like typical of what we've seen from Fulham this year. There was an attempt to play good football. They got quite a few shots in. I think they actually had more shots than Chelsea, but the problem is the quality of the chances they created. They just did not create enough quality chances, and I think defensively, they were opened up too often. And I think it wasn't. I feel like it was almost there for them this season, but it was just missing maybe just one or two very, very creative and key players that could turn a game like that.
Yeah, such a shame. Wanted Fulham to stay up, but all three of these teams that went down, I feel like. Difference is you need a really good striker no matter what just to finish off chances, but yeah, it is a shame. As for Burnley, they didn't get the result they wanted against West Ham, but I really do appreciate Chris Wood trying to become Ronaldinho and trying to juggle up the ball, and like he did it in the most stereotypical like English football way, you know, absolutely bamboozled the West Ham defenders. Like it was like a magician. They were like, look into my eyes, look into my eyes, look into my eyes, and you're back in the room. And as soon as you know it, West Ham players, they're on the floor. They've conceded a penalty. Was it Soucek, I think, who conceded the penalty?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good take by Wood, but yeah, the only criticism is Burnley trying to hold out, literally playing defending in their 6-yard box with 2 crosses. They were like, it felt like there were 6 defenders there, but they couldn't do anything. Perfect cross in there. They might as well not have been there. So that's my only frustration.
What's your prediction for this one?
I think Fulham are going to win this one, and I'm going to go with 1-0.
Yeah, I'm going to snap. I'm going 1-0 Fulham too. So it's a bonus game week this week. We have 5 extra games. It was going to be 4 extra games, but it's actually now included the postponed Manchester United versus Liverpool game. So off the riff, me and Gary are going to fly through these games because we've already reviewed their previous game. Gary, Manchester United versus Leicester. What you got?
I'm going for a draw on this one. I'm going 2-2.
Ooh, I'm going for 1-0 Manchester United.
Oh, sneaky. Okay, Southampton, Crystal Palace.
I am going for... Oh, this is a lot of pressure. 1-1.
Yeah, I'm gonna have Crystal Palace bounce back from this one. 1-0 Crystal Palace.
Okay, next game up we have Chelsea versus Arsenal. That is a potentially big one, obviously a big rivalry there. Gary, what are you going to go for?
Arsenal are not going to win any of their last 3 games, but they're going to get a scalp versus Chelsea. It's going to be 1-1.
I can assure you that was more his heart than his head there. And that is how degrading it is for an Arsenal fan, that his heart had to go for 1-1.
I did predict Arsenal to beat West Brom, to be fair, but other than that...
I'm going for 1-0 Chelsea.
Aston Villa, Everton.
Oh, this got 2-2.
Oh, 1-0 Aston Villa.
And lastly, the postponed game, Manchester United versus Liverpool. What are you going for?
I think Liverpool will win this one. They'll need the points, and I'm going 2-1.
I was going to do the same thing. That's quite scary. I'm going 2-1 Liverpool.
Yeah, whatever. Fine. And that is all for this game week. 14 games. Get your predictions in the comments now.
Yes, see you next week.
See ya.